Hello everyone, we good? Okay. Hi everyone, my name is John Benninger. I am Vice President and Market Leader for the Supply Side business here at Informa Markets. Welcome to our 27th Supply Side West show. We're so glad that you're here. We couldn't do this without you, and we really appreciate your attendance. Here today we've got a great discussion, a really important discussion actually, that applies to all of us here, whether we're exhibitors, attendees, or even consumers of these wonderful natural products. And the topic is adulteration. And it's not just in the botanical trade or the dietary supplement trade. As you can see from the title of our session, adulteration affects, frankly, all trade. Doesn't matter what it is. Since commerce began, since humans started selling things to other humans, there's been fraud, right? People trying to, unfortunately, rip other people off. So whether we're talking about olive oil or wine, or honey, or orange juice, or designer handbags, or music, whatever. It's out there, and it's in our industry also, unfortunately, adulteration, intentional adulteration, and we need to stop it. We need to bring it to an end, not just because it's bad for business and it's unethical, but mainly because it's bad for our consumers. In its worst case, it can be dangerous. It can truly be dangerous if we have something in a product that shouldn't be there, and at a very minimum, it's a ripoff, right? People spend good money for these products, looking for a benefit, and if they're not getting what they're supposed to be getting, that's not right. So there's a lot of work to be done. I'm excited about the discussion we're about to have about adulteration in the food, supplement, cosmetic, and OTC drug supply chain. These are real issues, and we have a great panel with us here today. I'm going to flip to that. A couple quick things. The app, the QR code that you see right there, if you click on that, you can get the app. If you haven't already done it, hopefully you have. It'll help you navigate the show. The Wi-Fi information is there if you need to connect to the Wi-Fi network. Please obviously place all your devices on silent. And our expo hall is open today until 5 p.m. So after this, go out there and explore the hall. We have over 1,500 exhibitors who are here to help you with their ingredients, technologies, services, co-packing services, packaging, analytical labs, everything you need. The way we think of it is everything you need to take your product from your head to your hand, from a concept to a product that's ready to go on a shelf, either a store shelf or an online shelf. So it's all out there for you to explore, and we encourage you to do that. So as I said, my name is John Benninger, Vice President here at Informa. In addition to Supply Side, you may have been to our Natural Products Expo West shows. We produce the NBJ Summit and Nutrition Business Journal, as well as all the health ingredients and food ingredient shows around the world, in Europe and South America and throughout Asia. So if there's anything we can do to help you in your journey as a business, please reach out to anyone with this Informa Markets badge on. We are here to serve you and to help you. Our panel, I'm very excited about. I'll just go in order on the slide. We have Tom Dubinsky at the end there, Vice President of Quality Systems at Arizona Nutritional Supplements, a leading contract manufacturer based out in Arizona where I live. They do amazing work, a great facility. We have Dr. Stefan Gaffner, Chief Science Officer at the American Botanical Council, one of our nonprofit partners, a 501c3 education and science organization dedicated to the global botanical trade. We have Michael Levin, founder of Health Business Strategies, just a wealth of knowledge on quality, safety, regulatory compliance, and does a lot of work with ABC and others, and particularly has his fingerprints on this botanical adulterants prevention program that we're going to be talking about. And Tanisha Roudier-Rogers, Director of Regulatory Affairs at Zymogen, a leading brand in our industry. And in the case of Tom and Tanisha, two people who have implemented the program that we're going to be talking about, that I believe everyone should implement. In fact, we here at Supply Side and Informa announced a couple of months ago that we've added this program to our compliance program, and it's our strong recommendation that every exhibitor and every attending company adopt this program, implement it into their business. It's not a requirement yet, but I hope that someday it will be. I think it's a wonderful program. It's going to help us deal with this issue of adulteration. But let's get started. And I'm going to start by passing the mic to Dr. Stefan Gaffner, Chief Science Officer at ABC, American Botanical Council.
Thank you so much, John. It's really a pleasure to be here, and thanks for giving us this opportunity to talk about the issue. My task is sort of to set the table why we do the work we do with the Botanical Adulterants Prevention Program. So I give you some idea about the concerns we have, and then our three speakers will more focus on the solutions. We often get asked if adulteration is really a big problem. And I'm coming more from the botanical side, so the data that we have are mainly on botanical. So what we did to look a little bit into that, we did a systematic review on what's published on adulteration of 5 popular ingredients. You see them here: black cohosh, echinacea, elderberry, ginkgo, and turmeric. And what we saw is we have data from about 200 for echinacea to about 1,300 samples for turmeric. And you can see that the published data suggests that adulteration rates are somewhere between 17 and 57% of what's out there that are adulterated. So there are some challenges in determining adulteration. So there are no comprehensive studies out there. So nobody went really look at all the products that are sold on the North American market and analyze them. So that's data is quite fragmented. Adulteration may change over time. So what people did 20 years ago may be different from what they did now. So depending on what analytical method you use, you may detect it or you may not have detected it. So it certainly there are a number of limitations. Some authors may have used methods that are not fit for purpose, but overall, I think the message is quite clear. It is a problem in our industry, unfortunately. And I just want to dive in the data for ginkgo. You see we had a total of 533 samples from the published literature. Of these, 304 were considered by the authors to be adulterated. So that gives you an adulteration percent of 57. If you look at the North American market and compare it to the European market for food supplements, interestingly enough, the adulteration rate is with 61% in Europe, 62% in US. It's the same. So we can probably assume that some of the products that are sold in North America as dietary supplements are sold in Europe as food supplements. And what for me is concerning is if you look at the data on a year-to-year basis. So we have information collected from 2003 to 2010. Adulteration rate was 35%. 2011 to 2020, it rose to 62%. I wouldn't pay too much attention to post-2020 because the sample size is too low, but still it doesn't look like we're going in the right direction. And I just want to have one last slide to show what some of the most common methods of adulteration are. I get a lot of concerns about excessive dilution. So that can be in the spice industry. If you buy turmeric as a spice, if you have 20% starch added to it, you may not see it, but it could be in there. What we see also is a substitution with lower cost extracts that have similar constituents. So adulterators know what test methods are out there, so they purposefully find a way to fool them. So if you look at the elderberry extract, they may sell you a black rice extract, which has very similar constituents, similar color, so that may go unnoticed. And one thing I want to point out as well is the addition of synthetic colorants. We had a number of recalls, most recently cinnamon, where that was contaminated with lead chromate to give it a nicer color. So that's obviously a health concern. So with that, last slide, these are the BAP publications. These are all available free of charge on our website. So if you're interested in the topic, want to learn more about it, feel free to go to the BAP website and check them out. So with that, I hand over the microphone to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. The solution to adulterations and pulling adulterated products out of the market, particularly those that are dangerous and cannot be lawfully remediated or repaired, is the solution that we have delivered to the industry. We want you to avoid expensive problems. Have any of you had a recall, by a show of hands? Have any of you experienced a recall? Good for you. I have. It's no fun, and it's also very expensive. So how can you stop the sale of these dangerous products in the supply chain? Our solution, the BAP SOP, best practices, connects regulatory law with contract law. Okay. As you know, quality depends upon specifications and analytical methods. Okay. It's up to every company in the United States for dietary supplements to define what the specs and methods are for determining whether or not an ingredient is safe to release. We don't do a real good job at it. It's a point of friction between FDA and the industry, to be honest. So what we have developed is a voluntary self-regulatory solution for trading partners. We combine regulatory law, such as GMPs and so on and so forth, with specs and those sorts of points, with contract law, purchase orders, supply chain contracts. And so what we do, what we provided buyers and sellers with, is a framework for holding each party contractually accountable to ensure that irreparably defective articles. An article is not something that you read in one of John's newspapers. Okay, we're talking about an article is an item that is regulated by law. If it's irreparably defective, it means you cannot use this. It is unsuitable, it is unfit for its intended purpose. Intended purpose in an intended jurisdiction. So, for example, in the United States and elsewhere, if you buy glycerin and it has diethylglycerol in it, and despite all of the advisories and monographs on glycerin and DEG that began in 1937 after 104 kids in the US died, you shouldn't. If you receive glycerin with DEG in it, it needs to be destroyed. So this requires certified destruction. Now this has been going on since 1937. Last year, 400 kids died around the world because of DEG and glycerin. This is still going on. So it is up to the trading partners, the buyers and sellers, to say, hey, you know, I'm buying this, these are the specs. Your representation to me is that it's not going to be adulterated, it's going to be fit for use. And this is a solution whereby we, all working together, can pull these irreparably defective articles out of the supply chain. Now, what does that do for us? It's going to reduce adverse effects. It's going to reduce a product recall. What does it cost to open up a recall issue with an attorney these days? This morning, $10,000 to $60,000 is where it starts. Okay, putting this into place is basically reinforcing the rules and helping you do a better job for your customers, protecting your brand, and just doing the right thing. So avoid lawsuits. You don't want to end up like Flora Farms and McDonald's. From Joe Betts, informed specification setting is one of the keys to GMPs. Folks, this is where we need to do a better job, and this is exactly what Dr. Gaffner and the team helps you do. We are a partner to your quality unit. And the SOP for the disposal and destruction of these irreparably defective articles takes this a step further. It requires trading partners to certify destruction of irreparably defective and possibly dangerous ingredients, thus preventing their resale into commerce. The way you can participate is to endorse the BAP SOP. You can integrate these principles into your SOPs, purchasing agreements, specs, and supply contracts, as the next two speakers have already done. And all of this work, again, nonprofit, please become a BAP underwriter to support this kind of essential work. This is where you can get our resources. I'll be available later to answer any questions. I also have literature with me if anybody wants any, and I thank you.
All right. All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. So yeah, great program, lots of resources there. As both of you said, the resources are free. They're on the website,
Free.
They're right there. So make sure your quality team, your supply chain team, your compliance team, and your sales leadership are aware of these, because that's how you implement it and get it into your system. And that's why I want to pivot right now to Tanisha and Tom to talk about just that, implementing it into your system as a company. Why you should do it, why they did it, how they did it, and some of the impacts that it's had. And so I'd love to hear from both of you on that. The first question, I think, to me it seems obvious why, because adulteration is bad and we don't want that. But Tanisha, I'd like to start with you. Why did Zymogen choose to make this commitment to implement the BAP SOP and this whole process into your business?
I think that's a great question. I mean, honestly, for Zymogen, we set ourselves apart, or we try to set ourselves apart as a quality standard. And so for us, it aligned with our values. It aligned with the fact that we not only want to put out a quality product that is good and effective, but it also does not harm. And that we want to be part of a community with other suppliers and manufacturers that are doing the same.
Yeah, thank you. And Tom, I'm guessing similar for you, like the why behind why Arizona Nutritional Supplements adopted this.
So for us, we've always been very detailed with our botanical testing. So we've spent a lot of time developing specs, developing test methods, and working with trade groups and labs to test things the right way. We found adulteration, and for us, being part of this program and being part of the SOP was just a natural progression. So it was the next step, and it's a way to help promote the program and also at the same time show that there are a lot of issues out there, but there are ways to identify them. So for us, it was a big deal to kind of just show what we are capable of, and also to be able to show the industry that it's ID testing by FTIR is not okay for botanicals. There needs to be more. You need to dig deeper. So for us, it was just a natural progression. So
yeah,
proud to be part of it.
Makes sense. And then next, so once you make that decision, like we have to do this, it's good for our business, it's good for our customers, good for the industry, good for everyone. The next thing is how, right? How complicated is it? How long does it take? Love to hear a little bit about your experience once that decision to adopt the Botanical Adulterants Prevention Program, SOPs, and bring this into your business. How that went, how long it took, and what kind of it looked like, the steps. Tanisha, how was it for you and your organization?
So it was a very methodical process. The BAP SOP actually provides quite a bit of guidance on how to implement and what to do. And so it was very helpful to have those resources and tools. And for us, the first step really was to assess how many IDAs do we actually come across in the work that we do. And so we assessed that. We looked back at what we did, if there were any mistakes that we may have made along the way, and how BAP is going to support that work. Also having a cross-functional team from people from our warehousing team, our product development, our quality teams, everyone to be able to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, so that in your respective areas that you're able to ensure that we're aligned and following the same value set.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's a really important note, because these are large organizations, and even if you're a smaller organization, you have to get the buy-in, right? I mean, you can't just, you could, I guess, just say from above, this is what we're doing, and maybe that'll work. But if you can get people to really understand the why behind it, that's what I've found in our organization. Get them on board, get them to understand the why, and then everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction, I think. Tom, similar experience for you?
Yeah, so for us, we're already doing the testing, we're already involved in the details there, so it was a lot of implementing it with our purchasing teams and with our sales teams as well, so that way our customers also know the expectations that we have. We have customers that have come in and said, hey, the last manufacturer said this is fine, it's totally fine, it's the right material, and then we test it and we find out immediately it's completely different, and it's an eye opener for that customer, and in many cases they will make the change, but it's a difficult thing. So there's a lot of people that just don't understand the details there. So for me, it was training our purchasing teams and our sales teams on this to get them to understand the why, but also building it into our agreements, our terms, our contracts, and having that language in there so we can make sure that the suppliers understand it is legally in this, and we are part of this program, whether or not it's required. For us it is, and it's in our documents now, in our agreements, so for us it is required. So.
Yeah. And that template language for the contracts, because that's what it comes down to. We can talk about it and say this is what we expect from our suppliers and that sort of thing. But like you said, Michael, bringing together the regulatory with the business side of it, the contractual 100%. Law, right, and building it into that purchasing agreement and all those documents. That language is provided on the website, or a template anyway. Yes. And so I'm guessing the tools like that made it hopefully a little bit easier to onboard this and bring it into the businesses.
Yep. Yeah, and for us, we actually had a large supplier for us of botanical ingredients that was a historical issue. They were one of a poor performing supplier, if you will. They would send us samples, we would test them, they'd be completely adulterated, we'd end up going with somewhere else, or we'd get eventually the right material from them. We started implementing this. Once we started documenting it, we got with them, had them re-sign our agreements, and went through the plan and what we are endorsing here. And really, we actually included some of the SOP actual verbiage in our agreement, so it's word for word of what we plan to do with this. So when we talk to that supplier, nowadays with that supplier, they're actually one of our more reputable suppliers, if you will, and one of our more trustworthy in that same area. So we're not seeing the impact from them of this bad material that they're providing us. So for us, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars being saved in my lab testing, the amount of time to test, getting new samples in, purchasing teams having to source new materials, whatever it may be. So for us, it was a huge deal just to get this going and to be able to talk with our suppliers. It made a huge impact. And that was one of our biggest ones, and they still are.
Yeah.
And they're one of the biggest ones in this industry, I will say that. I won't use names. But just so everybody knows, it will impact the biggest suppliers out there when you start to talk to them about this.
So it improved their business.
Yes,
well.
exactly.
And so everybody wins, and you said the ROI, the return on that investment. So this is not an expense, but even if it was, just because we need to fix this challenging problem of adulteration, it would be a good expense to spend. In your case, you're saying it actually made financial sense to do it, right?
Yeah, 100%, yep.
Yeah, Tanisha, I'm guessing the same with your company. I don't want to assume that, but...
Yeah, absolutely. So when we ventured into starting to implement the SOP and to really engage in the program, there were already kind of that short list of suppliers that we knew were kind of problem children for us. And we used it as an opportunity to educate them and to also be clear about what our expectation was and how this was going to work. And they actually were quite thankful for the information, because for some of it, they just didn't know what they didn't know. And it's not always that there's some nefarious intent at play, that they want to supply something. It might just be that they don't know.
Yeah, so we've talked about why to do it and a little bit of how to implement it. Now we've kind of pivoted into the outcomes, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Certainly the financial outcomes, but I'm guessing there are also some important outcomes there just on, one, product quality and consistency and safety and all that, and then that, I'm guessing, also ties into consumer trust and consumer satisfaction and brand value and the long-term success and protection of your businesses. So I'd love each of you to talk a little bit about maybe some of the outcomes so far since you've implemented this. Tanisha at Zymogen, what have some of the impacts been for you?
It has certainly saved us a lot of time and it helped us a lot financially, because it provides a clear roadmap for what to do and when, and both you and the supplier are on notice as to what needs to happen at this point and how do we remedy, if that's even possible. And while on the front end you have to do a bit of work so that you can make sure that you and your suppliers align and understand that you're on the same page, in the end it saves so much time and so much effort. It's not just the financial aspect with regards to the purchase of the ingredient, but it's also the cost of testing, it's the cost of the quality staff who's having to do investigations and all of that. So it's a huge return on the time investment that you're putting in.
Wonderful. Tom,
Yeah,
some of the
same
outcomes
for us.
you?
It's been all positive from a standpoint of from a cost and excuse me, from a cost standpoint. So for us, the implementation, it just made sense for everything we were doing. For us, it was a huge effort to talk with suppliers. And again, it's not that we changed our standard or changed our level of quality, but what we did was we actually just set a stronger stance on and documented what we're doing. This is our standard. This is what we need to meet. If you can't do this, then it's very clear that we're not going to accept it and potentially even dispose of it if it is adulterated. So from our standpoint, it was just strengthening our stance and our standard already.
Yeah, and in your case, Tom, with there's nutritional supplements as a contract manufacturer, your customers are a lot of the brands. I'm guessing that the brands that you serve were very happy about this too, because this gives them that protection and all that benefit of the program.
Yes, and that's a lot for us at A&S. Our head of sales has said this many years and many times. We will not be the cheapest option, but we want to be the best value. So yes, the brands that we work with, they want high quality materials. We're not going to come in and make a bunch of stuff very cheap. We are going to use the right materials. So for us, the customers we do work with, they do appreciate that. And they do like the fact that we are challenging our suppliers. We are challenging the supply chain and making sure that they do have high quality materials in there and safe.
Yeah, that's great. Really appreciate it. I'm a consumer too. My family and many of yours are consumers of these products. And so, one, I want to make sure that I get what I'm paying for and it's going to give me and my family the health benefit that I'm expecting or hoping for. And I also want to make sure there's nothing dangerous in there. Some of the examples that Dr. Gaffner shared and that we've seen out there, putting, dyes that are not safe for human consumption into materials that are then sold, in the case of like the bilberry, or in the case of the cranberry. You've shared this story before, I've heard you, cranberry extract, which has been adulterated with grape skin extract, I believe, and then even that, grape seed extract, and then even that has been adulterated with the red peanut skin because of similar chemical profiles. And so, there you've got an adulterated adulterant, which is just crazy. It shows you the extent of the problem. But there you get into a real safety issue, right? We all know that there are peanut allergies out there, and somebody buys a cranberry product and there's peanut in it. We can't have that. So I really appreciate all the work that you're all doing on this and encourage everyone else to do that. We're running low on time, but I just want to say if anybody has any questions, we have a microphone out there. Raise your hand. Eric, can we?
Hi there, this is a question for Tanisha. So is Zymogen actively promoting the BAPSOP concept to the doctors? Because I know Zymogen's a practitioner-focused brand. And if so, do you find that the doctors are responsive to the concept?
So we have kind of notified some key partners that we do work with, and they're very happy about it. One thing that our practitioners have come to rely on us is that our quality is true quality, and that we're taking all the necessary steps to ensure that what they're receiving is actually what they intended to purchase and to prescribe to their patients.
Wonderful. All right, well, I want to stick to our time schedule. American Botanical Council has a booth here on the show floor, so if you want to stop by and chat with Mark Blumenthal or Dr. Gaffner or anyone else, Michael, anyone else on the team, I'm sure they would encourage that. I'm sure our speakers, if you want to reach out to them in the future. This is an all-on-board community effort here. Really appreciate you sharing your experiences. And like I said, we, Supply Side Informa, encourage this. It's not a requirement right now, but it is a guideline that we're recommending for every exhibitor and every attending company to adopt and implement this. I wrote an op-ed piece about this a couple months ago, and at the conclusion of it, I said, If you don't implement and adopt this, my question for you is why? There's no reason not to. Because if something is adulterated to the point that it's dangerous to be in the marketplace, why would you want to send that back to a supplier and potentially have them send it out to another brand that maybe doesn't have the same testing procedures in place as you? When this program first started, Mark coined the rhyme, "Burn it, don't return it," which is kind of a fun way to remember it, but it's true. If something is dangerous, it's adulterated, and beyond remedy, that's the key, right? These are things that are adulterated and beyond remedy, not fit for purpose of any kind. Let's get it out of the supply chain. So in the future, if one of our journalists approaches companies and asks, have you adopted this program? And the answer is no, the next question is going to be why. So I would encourage you to please learn about the SOP and the BAP program, follow these examples and many others of companies that are adopting it, and together we're just going to build a healthier, better industry where we can all succeed and our consumers can have the confidence that we want them to have in our product. So I want to thank our panel for being here, thank all of you for being here, and please enjoy the rest of your day here at SupplySide.
Thanks, John.